other awards to be presented tonight are the Sir Donald Bradman Award for the Best Young Player of the Year and the prize for our Best State Cricketer. Since 1990, the Sir Donald Bradman Award has been presented by the Bradman Trust in Bowral. Now the Trust has agreed to award this magnificent prize on cricket's Night of Nights. To be eligible, a player must be 24 years of age or younger and to have played less than 10 first-class matches. And to present the award, former Australian captain and chairman of the Bradman Foundation, Ian Craig.
Ian,
Richie.
Very nice to see you again.
Well, it's a great honour to represent Sir Donald here this evening.
And the award, Eddie has just talked about it, that is going to continue and it's been on for quite some time.
Yes, this award has been presented now for the last 10 years. I'm delighted to say that most of the recipients are here this evening, still playing first-class cricket very well. We're delighted, though, as the foundation, to merge this in with the Australian Players Association and the Australian Cricket Board, and we look forward to this continuing for many years to come.
Well, now, we know Sir Donald can't be with us tonight, but he has written to us after we asked him to list some of the virtues he hoped the winner of his award will possess. And he said in his letter, "I would hope to find someone with skill, a warm and engaging personality, but no arrogance, someone dedicated to the game who might develop into an Australian captain, keen to uphold the game's traditions and leave something for the next generation of young cricketers." Ian?
Well, I'm very delighted to announce that the Sir Donald Bradman Young Cricketer of the Year is Brett Lee.
Brett, congratulations, very well done. A nice way to cap off the year.
Yeah, well, it's been the best 2 months of my life, so I'm just very happy and very, very proud to be here. It's just a fantastic turnout, and I'm just very proud.
Well, I hope it's just the start of a number of great things for you. Things could hardly have gone better, and thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
Sir Donald Bradman. There's a Donald Bradman Best Player of the Year, Brett Lee. Now we move on to the State Player of the Year. Judging in this category takes in performances from the Pura Milk Cup Series and the Mercantile Mutual Cup, and that was the limited over competition. Let's have a look at the nominations.
Fresh from hitting winning runs in the World Cup final, Darren Lehmann returned to the Redbacks to savage bowling attacks right around Australia. To date, his dominance of all bowling has plundered more than 900 runs. Paul Rifle's retirement from the international scene was great news for the Bushrangers as the newly appointed captain poured his talents into a tremendous domestic season. His experience and pinpoint accuracy has skimmed an impressive 38 wickets from Pura Milk Cup opponents. Queensland run machine Matthew Hayden has kept the pressure on the national selectors with another superb summer. To date, the free-scoring Bulls opener has ridden roughshod over the bowling to amass in excess of 650 runs.
Well, the auditors have just given me the envelope, in which is the name of the State Player of the Year. State Player of the Year is Darren Lehmann. Strong arms to hold that, but you've got them the way I've seen you play. Well done.
Thanks, Richie. Yeah, it's very honourable to get this award from all the players, so it's much appreciated.
Yeah, and you had stiff competition, as we saw in the video there, and as we've seen from all the matches around Australia. Well done, and keep at it.
Thanks very much, Richie.
Okay.
Cheers. Thank you.
And coming up next, the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame. That's next on Allan Border Medal Night. John Stevens and Go the Distance. In 1996, the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame was launched with 10 names inducted. The display now takes pride of place at the Melbourne Cricket Club. Tonight, we recognise those inaugural 10 and add 3 further names to this Hall of Fame. First off, let's go back to the original 10 and to the 1880s, to the man known as the Demon, Fred Spofforth. Spofforth played 18 tests in all, taking 94 wickets at an average of 18.41. From New South Wales, the Demon established a tradition of pace bowlers with a best of 7 for 44.
The second on the original list of inductees is Jack Blackham. The Prince of Keepers set the fashion for standing up over the stumps rather than way back behind them. He made his international debut in the first famous test of 1877, and his 800 test runs and 36 catches and 24 stumpings mark him as a genuine all-rounder.
Clearly the greatest batsman of his era, Victor Trumper. The famous sporting son of Sydney was to die at the all-too-young age of 38, but not before he'd played 48 tests and scored 3,163 runs at an average of 39.04. His highest test score, 214 not out.
Chloe Grimmett was one of the first inductees. Grimmett was the first bowler in the history of the game to take 200 test wickets. He was born in New Zealand and played first for Victoria in February 1924. And a year later, after moving to Adelaide, he was chosen for Australia and took 11 wickets on his debut. He was the world's leading wicket taker until 1953. A great spin bowler with a wonderful cricket brain.
At the MCG, there is a stand named after just one man, the great Bill Ponsford. This opening batsman went on to become a run-making machine. He was the only player to twice score 400 runs. His record from 29 tests, 2,122 runs at an average of 48.22, Bill Ponsford.
Donald George Bradman, the boy from the bush who was later knighted, was an original Hall of Fame member. Young Bradman practiced with a corrugated iron water tank, a golf ball and a stump. And later he generated record attendances wherever he played, and he dominated the game like no one before or since. And in those awful Depression years, he was Australia's hero. In 52 tests, he made 6,996 runs at 99.94. He was simply the best.
He was a leg spinner. His nickname was the Tiger. Bill O'Reilly, a leg spinner with a build of a giant. He used his height well for masterful control of line and length. In his arsenal was a copybook wrong-un, plus all the subtleties of flight and pace. He played 27 tests, captured 144 wickets at 22.59, with best figures of 7 for 54.
Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Ross Miller, an extraordinary cricketer. Miller was the finest all-rounder I ever played with or against, although later Gary Sobers took that #1 spot. Nugget Miller was a charismatic character. He took 170 wickets and made almost 3,000 runs in his 55 tests. He was a wonderful cricketer. Now Keith can't be with us tonight, but he has written to the people organising the function, and he said this: "I'm pleased to know that after a considerable time there will be additional players inducted into the Hall of Fame, to which I am privileged to belong. This can only enhance the rich traditions of Australian cricket, and tonight marks a very special occasion. I send warm greetings to everyone at the function and around Australia."
We have a great tradition of fast bowlers. One of the greatest was Ray Lindwall. Simply the finest bowler of his generation. From 61 tests, he took 228 wickets at 23.03, a gifted athlete who bowled with genuine speed. He was also a punishing late-order batsman who scored 1,502 runs at 21.15, but he was known as a great fast bowler, Ray Lindwall.
Dennis Lillee, Australia's leading wicket taker. Well, Fred Spofforth and Ray Lindwall have already been honoured tonight, but there's never been a better fast bowler than Dennis Keith Lillee. He claimed 355 wickets. He was a wonderful competitor, and he always took on the best batsmen in the opposition. He was a great and a very, very courageous fast bowler.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the original 10. And now it gives me great pleasure to help induct the next 3, to call on Dennis Lilly to come forward on behalf of the Hall of Famers. Dennis, great to see you, mate, and thanks to the Madras Rubber Factory for allowing you to come away from India, fly in this morning and be here tonight. What do they make at the Madras Rubber Factory?
Condoms. No, originally they did. They're now the biggest manufacturer of tyres in the Southern Hemisphere, yeah, and they kindly let me jump on a plane and join you. I think it's about 5 in the morning to me at the moment.
I'm sure you've been there before, though, Dennis, so I think you'll be OK.
So I do go to Madras often, actually, yeah.
Mate, a great night tonight, the Hall of Fame. We're about to induct 3 more living legends and or legends of the past. Can you tell us what it's like to be part of it?
Obviously, anything where you're, asked to, well, you're invited to be part of what was history is a great thrill. I never dreamt it could ever happen. Playing cricket in the backyard and playing cricket at school with your mates, you never dreamed something like this could happen, and just proves it can happen to anyone.
Good on you, Dennis. And Richie Benno, who is part of the committee of selecting this magnificent Hall of Fame. The 3 new inductees will now declare the 3 new members. Richie.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first new inductee is a man who had plenty of brushes with authority over the years when he captained Australia and when he was a player. His side was said to be the best ever, Warwick Armstrong.
Is his grandson, Warwick Armstrong.
Thank you, Eddie.
Warwick.
Thank you.
Warwick, tell us a little bit about Granddad. He started cricket as a 12-stoner and finished at 23 stone. He obviously enjoyed his cricket.
And a lot more too, Eddie. Yes, a lot of fond memories indeed. Probably 2 or 3, being bowled by an 11-year-old kid, Bill Golby. Our favourite memory, I suppose, is the last tour in 1921. The weight went out. Bloomed out quite a bit. And in Southampton, the first game against Northamptonshire, he decided to field on the wicket, along the fence. And little kid was following him all day. The old man got a little bit terse and he said, "What do you want? An autograph? Give us your book." He said, "I ain't got one." And he turned to him and said, "You're lost." He said, "No, Mr. Armstrong, you're the best shade here in Southampton." So, thank you again. May I say to Mr. John Lill, Richie, Bill Laurie, Wilkinson and Lane, from the bottom of my heart, from my father who never got to receive these awards in his lifetime, my lovely daughters Emily and Sarah, we are honoured, humbled and very privileged. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second inductee, the new inductee, played in the side that is argued about alongside Armstrong's side as being the best, one of the invincibles, Neil Harvey.
Centuries, 24 half-centuries, and was the youngest Australian ever to score a Test century. Neil, congratulations, a wonderful surprise for you. How are you feeling?
Wonderful surprise, mate. I don't believe it. I mean, why should I? I mean, there's so many great players here tonight that I just don't believe it. I know I was a member of the best, probably the best team that's ever been, maybe, arguably. They were pretty good. And this team is pretty good too. But, you know, to be honoured tonight with this award, absolutely fantastic, and I just can't thank anybody enough.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the third inductee is the man who brought Australia back in cricket in the 80s when we were having a dreadful trot. Took the side to England in 1989, and the Ashes have never been England's again. Allan Border.
Tests, 11,174 runs at 50.56. Allan Border's made the most test runs in the history of the game. Not a bad night, Allan.
I've got to keep pinching myself. This is just fantastic.
Tonight, obviously, the Allan Border medal means a fair bit to you, but this added surprise. How are you feeling?
Well, this is a tremendous surprise. Like Neil Harvey, didn't get a cuddle from Dennis. A bit disappointed, but yeah. But yeah, look, it's just been extraordinary. The whole night's been great. Hopefully, everyone's enjoyed it here and the TV audience, and it's just been tremendous to be part of it all.
Good on you, Allan.
Thanks.
Stand over there in front of your portrait as we pay tribute to the three inductees into the Hall of Fame. Warwick Armstrong, Neil Harvey and Allan Border. We'll take a break. When we come back, it's the Test Player of the Year on Allan Border Night.
Thank you very much. Well, Bill, you must be in your absolute element. Yeah, you are in your beloved Victoria and your lovely city, Melbourne, and all your Victorians around you. You feel good?
Yeah, well, it's all happening, and it's just been a great night, and it's good to see Shane Warne take off the first prize. Been a great Victorian, of course, and I've just got one concern, Tony. I've been keyed up all day. I've got to ask this question: what are you doing here?
Mate, I'm representing cosmopolitan Australia. I'm representing the Sri Lankans, the Italians, the Greeks, the South Africans, all those people that make this wonderful cosmopolitan society that we live in.
Very good. Big news. I thought Cosmopolitan was a magazine, but I only went to Preston Tech, so I've been corrected there. But big news, big cricket news, broken tonight on Wide World of Sports. Big name change for South Africa.
Well, this must be your news. I mean, the Springboks changed to the Proteas, political decision. So what's this big news?
Saucepans.
Saucepans?
Yeah.
Well then. You want to start that again? Saucepans?
Teacups? No. What goes in the cups?
Saucers.
Saucers, that's what I was after. They're called the saucers.
What's that?
All the cups are in Australia.
He's been practicing this all day and he goes for saucepans instead of saucers. I bloody ask you. He is a Victorian, there's no doubt about that. Right, let's go for a team here tonight. What are we going to do? We've got to pick a team. I mean, where are we going to start? How about...
a captain?
A captain?
I'll give you first go.
OK, well, I'm going to go for the smartest bloke in the room. I'll go for John Howard. He can be my captain.
Well, you're assuming because Bradman was small, Gavaskar was small, Tendulkar was small, but all great batsmen and captains are small.
True.
None of them wore glasses.
True. So who's going to be captain? Oh, you can pick the captain.
Richie Benaud for sure.
Well, I'll go for Sobers. What's wrong with Sobers?
He doesn't read the Channel 9 team.
Well, what about field placing? I mean, let's...
What about Mark? You haven't mentioned Mark Taylor.
Well, he is in the Channel 9 team. Mind you, he's, you know, how do you think he's going?
He's got a lot of sucking up to do. No, he's doing a fantastic job along with Ian Healy, and it's great to have him on board, and just gives a bit of a balance. I've been sick and tired of putting up with you for 22 years.
Well, mate, you're going to put up with me for a bit longer. Let's see if we can have some field placing here. Now, you've always been good at this telestrator. We need to get a forward short leg into position here. No. He was a real good short leg, Booney.
He was a fantastic short leg, and he came from Tasmania as well, which is great to see. And he's got to be replaced by a Tasmanian at short leg as well. You have to be wide and strong.
Yeah, you've got to be big, and you don't want to be too agile. So perhaps we should go for Dennis Rogers.
I agree with that. Number one, the chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board, forward short leg, righto.
Good drinker. Very important, short leg.
What about your cover? The cover point for you. Someone to control around there.
Only one, Neil Harvey.
Who was the best cover, by the way?
Neil
Who was
Harvey.
the best ever cover?
Neil Harvey.
What about Colin Bland? I mean, Ricky Ponting.
Ricky Ponting, they're very good, and Ricky Ponting could well equal Neil Harvey. He's improving every year. He's a great cricketer, but in my mind's eye, my hero, Neil Harvey.
We're not going to argue, are we? We're not going to argue.
Who's Colin Bland, by the way?
What about, I'll tell you what I've noticed the other night, some of the, they talk about the cricketers. What about the wives? Some of the wives of these young players. Unbelievable, eh? It's
You're on your own, buddy.
Have a look at this. Just have a look at this. Really,
You're on your own there, boy.
10 out of 10. Look at this. This is just absolutely unbelievable. What about a cheer for the wives? This...
Tony, I think we'll cut in the last time you talked about wives and weddings, it cost you a couple of weeks, I think, so we'll just let that one go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Tony Greig and Bill Laurie. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to cast the votes and find out the votes for the Test Player of the Year, just like the one day as it started back in March in the Caribbean. Let's have a look at the highlights.
His keep.
Well, the Test match voting for the Allan Border Medal started in the Caribbean, as you saw. The first Test match against the West Indies was at Trinidad, and the voting, Jason Gillespie, 1 vote. Michael Slater, 2 votes. Glenn McGrath, 3 votes. The second Test match was played at Sabina Park in Jamaica. Mark Waugh, 1 vote. His brother and captain, Steve Waugh, 2 votes. And once again, Glenn McGrath, 3 votes. The third Test was at Bridgetown, Barbados. Ricky Ponting received 1 vote. Glenn McGrath struggled this match, only got 2 votes. And the captain, Steve Waugh, is man of the match with 3 votes. The final Test match at Antigua, Australia had to win to square the series. And in that match, Steve Waugh received 1 vote. Once again, Glenn McGrath, 2 votes. And for a great 150, Justin Langer, 3 votes. And Eddie, that concludes the voting from the West Indies.
Thanks, Mark. And in August, September, our Test team headed to Sri Lanka for a 3-match series, followed by the historic and short visit to Zimbabwe.
In the first Test at Kandy, Ricky Ponting carried the Australian innings on the blade of his broad bat. As wickets tumbled around him, the Tasmanian found a stubborn ally in Jason Gillespie for an 8th wicket stand of 107. Ponting's 96 and the opening bowler's career best 41, the 2 redeeming points in Australia's total of 188.
Good hit by Ponting. That's a very good hit.
Greater calamity awaited when the Sri Lankans took the crease. Australia reduced to 9 men, Steve Waugh suffering a broken nose and Gillespie a fractured leg courtesy of this sickening collision.
Dreadful collision. My goodness.
A haul of 5 for 52 by Shane Warne and 4 for 64 from spin twin Colin Miller restricted Sri Lanka to 234.
Oh, yes, I like it. Oh, what a catch! What a good catch!
But despite a fighting 51 from Ponting, the depleted tourists collapsed, all out for 140. The home side completed an historic win, but not before Miller furnished a fine double with 3 for 48. The action switched to Gaul, where Damien Fleming stepped in to take 2 for 74. Glenn McGrath grabbed 3 for 81 and Warne 3 for 29 as Sri Lanka made 296.
the begonia, yes, second attempt.
An opening stand of 138 by Michael Slater and Greg Blewett provided the platform for Australia's modest total of 228. Slater top scoring with 96. Australia's best batting performance of the series offered hope of revenge at Colombo. Slater with 59 and Blewett 70 again set the stage for Ponting to play a leading hand, this time unbeaten on 105. Fresh from his innings at 32, Fleming crashed through the Sri Lankan top order, taking 3 for 14.
We thought that he'd have problems. The late swing of Fleming.
But with the home side tottering at 4 for 61, rain again came to their rescue, washing away Australia's final chance of squaring the series. Zimbabwe's journey to first world cricket status took a massive step in October when the baggy green caps arrived for an historic first tour. In the one-off test in Harare, the home side fell for 194 to the combined talents of Australia's bowlers. Glenn McGrath claiming 3 for 34, Damien Fleming 2 for 22, and Shane Warne 3 for 69. Mark Waugh became the first Australian to score 50 against all 8 Test nations, only to fall 10 short of his century.
In the air, and what a catch. So Mark Waugh has missed the century.
Brother Steve made an undefeated 151 and Fleming a lusty 65 in the total of 422. Another 3-wicket haul to McGrath and 3 apiece to spinners Warne and Colin Miller bundled out Zimbabwe for 232, leaving Australia to score just 5 runs for victory. For a veteran wicketkeeper, the last among a multitude of milestones. Andy Flower, Port Healy bowled McGrath, marking Ian Healy's 395th and final Test dismissal.
Australia's Test match series against Sri Lanka kicked off at Kandy. In that match, Shane Warne took 1 vote, Colin Miller 2 votes, and Ricky Ponting 3 votes. The second Test match was at Galle. Greg Blewett 1 vote, Shane Warne 2 votes, and man of the match, Michael Slater 3 votes. The third Test match, which was washed out, was back in Colombo. Greg Blewett 1 vote, Damien Fleming 2 votes, and once again Ricky Ponting 3 votes. Australia's first Test match against Zimbabwe was played at the Harare Sports Club. In that match, Glenn McGrath 1 vote, Mark Waugh 2 votes, and his first 100 against Zimbabwe, Steve Waugh 3 votes. And Richie, that concludes the voting from the Sri Lankan-Zimbabwe leg.
This is going to be a tight vote, and they're the players' votes for those Test matches up to that point, and this is the way the leaderboard looks at this moment. Glenn McGrath 11 and Steve Waugh pressing him on 9, Ricky Ponting 7, and then 5 for Michael Slater, 3 for Mark Waugh, for Justin Langer, Shane Warne, and 2 for Greg Blewett.
Thanks, Richie. When we come back, we pay tribute to one of the great glovemen of the game and the final votes for the Test Player of the Year on Allan Border Medal Night.
Well, being the Australian wicketkeeper meant I got to represent a fantastic tradition. You always think you're going to play for Australia as a kid, backyard tests when you're having your blues with your brothers, but to actually get selected the way I did after just 6 first-class games, I had to pinch myself. I think the role that the Australian team needed in the early 90s, late 80s was a tough, aggressive, abrasive type keeper who was there to support his team, was there to be in the front line.
Gone at the end of the series.
And it's goodbye time. We really needed to scrap and fight, and that's what has turned into a successful era.
Catch by Healy.
Quite often got told to shut up by Allan Border and Mark Taylor, but no, generally, if you're being told to shut up, you're probably doing a good job.
Well, I think Heels, he's a great team man. He did some amazing things behind the stumps.
The bold Warnie or bold Shane thing did come naturally. That was my job as a wicketkeeper, to encourage my bowler.
Sometimes you never really notice him too much because he did such a great job. and that's why he calls himself the drummer in the band, but I think he's more like the lead singer, Heelzo.
I devised this drill, or had this drill up my sleeve, just bouncing a golf ball against the wall. Sort of snuck down into the basements of the hotels without them knowing. I got kicked out of 1 or 2 car parks, like a public car park. I think that there is a soft side to Ian Healy, but maybe only the people that get really close will find it. But yeah, the emotions of my retirement, the lap of honour in Brisbane, the first day of the first test, was a little tough and a little emotional, but I think that's nice to be able to show some warmth and some passion at times. Certainly miss the boys. I catch up with them as much as I possibly can, and I look forward to it every single time.
Yeah, it's one of the greats, Ian Healy, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for the retiring Australian keeper. Well done, Heels. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the last votes to find out the Ansett Australia Test Player of the Year. Of course, comes from the series we've just had between Australia and the superpowers of the subcontinent, Pakistan and India.
Thank you.